Hello, everyone. We want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video. I just want to go ahead and go through some brief introductions. My name is Anthony Deloach, and this is my wife.
And I am Sharita Deloach.
And we are the CEOs of the company Writing Dreams Coaching, and we wanted to go ahead and do this video. It's time to write your book. I just want to go into a little bit about the information of why we started Writing Dreams. It was a big push for us because we had been working with quite a few people with helping them as far as getting their book written and doing some coaching, that type of thing, and making them, bringing them to a complete manuscript. And it was something that we found ourselves to be pretty proficient at, and people said they got a lot of value out of our coaching sessions. So we decided to say, hey, we can help a lot more people. So we decided to birth this company, Writing Dreams Coaching. So that's a little bit about our story as far as that. And I know a lot of times you want to go into why should you listen to us as we're giving you the information.
Right.
Well, my wife is an author multiple times over, and so am I. I have some books that are coming out now, and we've just grown to love writing, and we love, just the whole process and everything about writing and getting a book published, telling your story, and all that type of stuff. So that's very exciting to us. So those are things that we wanted to do. And I'll let my wife expand on some other things that she likes about writing and why we got started with this.
Yeah, I started writing maybe about 4 years ago when I was compelled to tell my story about what I've been through. Because, like many others of you, sometimes we grow ashamed about what we've been through, and we're afraid of the backlash that could come from what we've been through. But I wrote it, and of course, backlash will come. There's some things you're
Exactly.
not going to be able to get away from, but I had learned a long time ago how important it is to tell my story, because my voice is needed. Not just talking about my story, but writing about my story. Someone is in another country needs to read my story, because I can't be everywhere at one time. So I encourage all women that I coach to write their story. Whatever you've been through, somebody needs to hear from you. Somebody needs to be delivered from what you've been through. So that's why I have been enjoying writing. I enjoy helping others write to really illuminate on their story and being honest and being truthful about what you've been through. So those are one of the many things I love even now about writing.
Absolutely. And as you can see, writing is some of our passion. Is one of our passions is actually, and it's something that we do in our spare time. It's something that we would do even if we weren't getting paid for it. And we just believe that the effectiveness of your story is what it's all about, and
Yes,
your story to impact somebody's life, as the Bible says that we overcome by our testimony. So
correct.
others will overcome by our testimony. So
Mm-hmm.
the more that we tell our story, and as my wife alluded to, it's a way to get your story out better than you can even do if you were to go speaking.
Mm-hmm.
You could speak in a certain amount of places, but your book can go many more places than you can as
Yes.
far as your speaking. So a book can do great things for your life. First of all, it could be a release for you. So if you have
Mm-hmm.
a story that you need to tell, it allow you to release it, put it on paper, get it out of your spirit, get it out of just in your mind, and just put it down on paper. The next thing that your book can do for you is that, of course, it can bring you some income as well. It'll be
Mm-hmm.
another stream of income. The other thing that a book can be for you is a platform for
Mm-hmm.
you to build. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a speaker, having a published book will build a substantial platform for you. So you definitely want to take advantage of those things as well. So without further ado, we do want to go ahead and jump right into the content. We don't
Mm-hmm.
want to keep you guys for long, but we have a
Yes.
lot of information that we want to share with you. I
Yes.
believe at the end of this session that you would say you got a lot of valuable information from this, and it's going to help you tremendously.
Yes. So we'll give you a moment to get your pen and get your paper. And as you see, we have our notes and our content ready to pour into you to give you a lot of valuable information when it comes to writing. Some things people just don't know. So we freely want to give that information to you to push you and help you get started so you can go ahead and write your book.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping things while you're getting that pen and paper ready. We're people who are passionate about helping people write books, but we're not perfect either, right? And I don't want anybody to think that we are. So during this conference, you're going to hear some improper grammar. You're going to hear us being real. We're going to tell you our real stories. We're going to talk to you, just truthfully and transparently about everything that we've been through in this process of writing books and the process of just living life. And we're going to do that, and we're going to be as real and transparent as possible. So if you're getting offended by some ain'ts and some all of this other stuff up here, some improper grammar, this may not be the one for you. But we do want to let people know that you can be a real person to write a book. You don't have to be a monk that's been shut away for years and never and just shave your head every day and never do anything. You don't have to be that. You don't have to be the guy that sits back in the closet, the nerdy guy with glasses on and all that stuff, and that never gets out in the world to write a book. You can be just the average person. And as a matter of fact, I would say that you're the person that most people want to hear from. Right. They want to identify with the person that's writing a book. So,
and what's the other thing too? Spelling.
So we're going to get into that too. And this is part of the content that we have for you today. So, a lot of the things, you don't have to be perfect to write a book. Right. So we just wanted to go ahead and put a disclaimer out there on that. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The topic that we're going to be talking about now is the 7 C's of writing a book. This is the steps that we've come up with. These are the steps that we brainstormed together and came up with and said it was most important when people need to write a book. So we wanted to go ahead and jump right into it. So the first C, I would say, is content. All right. So content is very important. Did you want to start out with that part?
Yeah, content is key. You gotta, when you're writing your story, you gotta know what you're talking about. You want to write from a place of being a victor instead of being a victim. And what I mean by that is, if you were on drugs for 10 or more years and you're still on drugs and you want to write your story about being on drugs, that's not going to work. You want to be out of a situation and putting the correct content inside the book. You want readers to understand you. You want them to put themselves in your shoes. You want them to be like, wow, I can't believe he or she been through that. I've been through the same thing. You want them to understand their how. How do I get over this situation? I tell all writers, you want to be a solution to a problem. So your content must really illuminate what it is your story is about and about you. So if you want to add to it about content in your book.
So content, let's talk about some of the specifics about that. With your content, you have to decide what type of book you're going to write. With us, we do focus mainly on nonfiction books. We like to focus on people who want to tell their story so that it can impact the lives of other people. We like to focus on how-to books. If you've been through some experiences, you've done some things, you started a business, if you are expert in some category, then if you want to write a book about that, then that is a book that you want to write. We really want to help you with that. We want to help everybody, but that's what our focus is. So I did want to let you know that nonfiction. Now, if you want to write a fiction book, then that's fine. You can write a novel because those can impact people's lives as well. If you decide that that's what type of book that you want to write, then you definitely want to write that. But if you want to write a nonfiction book, you write a biography. If you want to write a nonfiction book that's helping somebody, if giving some steps on how to do something, then you want to do that. If you have a how-to book and those types of things, you definitely want to do that. If you have a spiritual book, those are books that you can write as well. So know what type of content that you want to write about. Your content needs to be consistent. It needs to be thorough. If you're going to write a book, nobody wants to read a 2-page book, right? No. Then we read a letter for that, right? That's not. You can read a blog that's 2 pages, right? So if you're going to write a book, you want to make sure that you have an adequate amount of content there too. So you want to make sure you do that. Make sure that when you're doing your content that you're using original content. I like to go into that as well. You're using not somebody else's stuff. Right. You want to use your own. Just make sure that your content is original and is thorough. You definitely want to make sure you do that. So I think that covers a lot about content there. The next thing that we want to go into, and I'm reading off my paper. I told you we're not perfect. I don't memorize stuff well. So I'm going to be reading off my paper. So when you see me look over to the side like this,
and I'll be looking down a little bit.
I am reading off the paper. All right. So what the next thing we want to go into is consistency. Consistency is very, very important when you're going to be writing a book. And why do we say that? Because you're going to have to Have some consistency as far as when it comes to writing. If you're going to write a book of any type of length, you're going to have some consistency. And what do we mean by that? With consistency, you're going to have to basically choose a time of the day that you're going to write and be consistent about that. Now, is it always going to stick to that? No, but you want to be consistent with it. You want to consistently write on your book, every single day. And the other thing that comes with consistency is commitment. And you want to make sure that you're committed to writing this book. And anytime that you struggle with the commitment, just think about who this book is going to impact. If you've been through something that's been tragic or you've been through a struggle, then you definitely want to make sure that you write this book, because somebody's out there waiting to hear the information that you have to share, so it'll change their life forever. So the more you procrastinate and don't write your book, the more longer they're going to have to wait. The people out there that are going to suffer longer because they have not gotten that information. So you definitely want to make sure that you are consistent with writing every single day. And I think we talked about 300 words a day. 300 words a day is not much. This was basically about 2 paragraphs.
Maybe two paragraphs.
So if you think about it, 300 words a day. Just make sure you focus on that. Let that be your goal. Goal setting is very important in your book.
Yes.
So you want to make sure you have that goal of 300 words a day. You write 300 words a day every single day, no matter what. And guess what? You're gonna have to make some sacrifices, right? You may have to sacrifice some time. You have to sacrifice some TV. You may have to sacrifice some sleep. Those are things that you're going to have to do to make sure that you're writing in your book every single day. Get up earlier in the morning. You have to find out what time is best for you. We're not going to tell you the best time to write, because it has to be what's right for your life. I'll let you elaborate on that.
And it has to be, a lot of you may be wives. Some of you may be mothers. You have to
fathers,
get it done.
Husbands,
fathers.
So.
But you want to make the time, and it can get done. I have a lot of women that ask me, Sharita, you publish, 2 or more books. How do you do it? And the thing is being consistent. I have to have a certain time that I'm writing or typing on, or I'm typing on my computer.
The best time for you to write?
Me is either early in the morning, and that's not too often. Oh, late at night. Late at night in my bed with my feet propped up with my laptop. That's when the juices are flowing. That's when, God speak to me, give me a lot of creative ideas. And that's the best time for me to write and read. So late at night, especially when the children are asleep and, it's quiet in the house and, you can't hear anything. That's the best time for me. So you have to find your time.
Absolutely.
You may work third shift, so your time may be during the day. You may work second shift, so your time may have to be early in the morning, but you have to sacrifice to get it done. And like Anthony said, to me, it mattered most about the people that I would impact, the people that will get their hands on my book and to read my story. It's very important for me to reach the ones that God intended for me to reach, the ones that need to hear from me. So that's why, that's important. That's important to have consistency.
Absolutely. And for me, it's kind of the same thing. We have a lot of children.
Right.
So, the thing is, we have to just find what's the best time to do it. If it's late at night, if it's 12, 1 o'clock at night, and I say, hey, I haven't written all day, then I have, I put aside time to write.
Yeah.
If I say, well, look, I know I'm going to have a busy day tomorrow. I need to get up earlier. If I have to get up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning to write, then I have to do that. If it's, me squeezing in time during the day, if I say, hey, the kids are going to be away, I have a little bit of free time, instead of, going and watching the boob tube and, going and watch the television, right? I don't.
Television.
One of the things, I just put that away and say, hey, look, I'm just going to write on my book, and I'm going to make sure that I'm writing something. And it's a habit that you want to develop, right? 21 days creates a habit. So, the thing is, if you start just writing those 300 words a day and, just write. And I would give you that, just write. Just write. Let it flow. Don't worry about structure and all of that other stuff right now. Just write. Get the information out. You can go back and structure it later on.
And that's what we're here for, to help you structure it anyway. So,
absolutely. So that's the other thing. So we went to consistency. The next thing is with creativity or
Mm-hmm.
creative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to read a boring book.
No.
I picked up some books and it was so boring. I put it down before I got through the table of contents, right? Because the book is so boring. But the thing is that you want to make sure that you're creative when you're writing your book. You want to make sure that you are being vivid about the details of your story. You're writing a story about what you've been through. You know, just to give an example, you know, in a book that I wrote in that's going to be published sometime this year, one of the things that I wrote about was a struggle that I went through with, you know, with being homeless, with losing jobs, with losing a house, with losing cars. I actually went through that and told how I felt during that time. Not only telling what I went through, but how did I feel through that went through when I went through that. You know, that is something that you definitely want to share with people, because that is what's really going to impact them. How did you feel? You know, what happened? How did you respond to that?
Right.
You know, I'm saying, what would you do in the future? Go into those things, and what lesson did you learn out of that? So it's a lot of information that you can share with people, and it's more information that you think. You just don't have to say, hey, I went down the road to the store, turned to the left. It doesn't have to be that. I went down the road, I was scared, I had to hit the stoplight, you know, because
take them
it was
with
that.
you, because it's a journey.
Bring them
in the story.
Yeah, there you go.
Make them feel what you're feeling. If you are sad, you are upset, then as they're reading, they're going to become upset and sad too. That's what a compelling story would do.
Right. And you want to make sure that your word choice is proper. Don't be too concerned with that, but make sure that you're elaborating on what has happened. You know, if you were mad and pissed off, then say I was mad and pissed off, you know, and that's the thing that you want to make sure that you do. You want to go in and tell that story. So I want you to get creative with your writing. You know, just go out and do that. Just get creative with it. The next thing is copyright. We're going to go into that. This is more of the details of it. But after you've written your book, you've gotten creative, you've gotten a manuscript that you think is pretty much together, we want to talk about a little bit about copyright. Copyright, the truth of the matter is, as soon as you put pen to the paper and you've written your story and it's your original story, it's really copywritten, right? What you can do for additional protection, and what you hear people talk about most of the time, is registering your copyright. And when you register your copyright, that means that it's registered so it stands up in the court of law. So those are things that you can do. Don't let people make you think it's more complicated than what it is. You go, you register your content, you send it to them, and you pay the fee and all that, and then your material is copyrighted pretty much, and you get to use the copyright symbols and all of that type of stuff that they have for that. And then I would suggest that you do it. It's not too much. You go ahead and do your copywriting on that. And if you sometimes you just want to make sure, sometimes you can get publishing deals where they include that type of stuff, but you make sure you read the fine print in the publishing deal. Make sure that you still keep rights to your story and all that stuff. The copyright is registered to you, and all those types of things that you want to do. So copyright, you want to protect your story. This is your story.
Right.
So you want to protect that. So if somebody else wants to steal your story, at least they have to pay you to use it, right? So, that's the thing that you definitely want to do as far as the copyright. And we're going to move pretty quick because, like I said, we don't want to hold you guys long, but we have a lot of information we want to cover with you. And talking about cover, we're going to talk about your book cover, right?
Yes, the book cover is very much the first thing people look at. When I pick up a book, the first thing I'm going to look at is the cover, the name of the book, and see if it's going to pique my interest. So having a great cover and a title, which, that's in other videos later, but having a captivating title and a nice cover, and making sure that your cover matches your story. If you're writing about cats, maybe you should have something about a cat on your cover, or it has to match. You don't want to have a Photoshop, your selfie that you took at home on your cover.
The bathroom selfie should not be on the cover of your book.
No.
So you definitely want to do that. That selfie that was just perfect, that the light hit you just right, is still not right for your book. If you're going to use a picture, and I want to tell you this, you don't have to use your picture on your book.
Right, you don't.
You can put your picture on the back as far as like you're the author, that type of thing is the author bio on the inside if you wanted to do that. But you don't have to put your picture on the front of the book if you don't want to. You don't really have to put your picture anywhere on the book if you don't want to. But if you are and you feel like it's appropriate for your book, then you want to make sure that it's a professional image that is going to really represent the quality of the content in your book.
Right.
If you don't have a professional image, it's going to weaken the confidence of the audience that wants to read your book.
Because they think it look like crap. Right. They're like, this is amateur stuff. Right. You want to be professional. So take the time out to get some professional photos done if you choose to, but not the bathroom selfie, you know. That's
and I
not
would say
work.
Definitely don't let pictures hold you back. You know, you say, well, look,
writing.
If you say, well, hey, I have a book that I need to get out there, I don't have professional pictures, can't afford to get professional pictures right now, get you a book cover that does not include your picture. Let's get you and it'll be a great book. There are some great books that do not have, and I thought I had one here, but that do not have a person's picture on the front of it. So you know that the cover design can be absolutely amazing without a picture. But you do want your cover to grab people. You want them to, if they're walking by it and they see your book in a bookstore and some, you know, in the church bookstore, in a large bookstore, and it's next to another book, is your book going to stand out? Is your book going to say, hey, look, I want to get that? And it has to be appropriate for your story. It has to be appropriate for your genre too. So what category of book do you have? If you have a how-to book, go look at other how-to books and see what their covers look like and see how yours compare to it. If you're writing a spiritual book, go look at a T.D. Jakes book or a Joel Osteen book or a Creflo Dollar book or whoever's book you want to look at, and you look at it and say, hey, does my book compare with that?
Right.
And you want to
in the same league.
Right. Yeah. And you want to definitely look at that, and you can get ideas from that type of thing. Now, some people want to do it on their own. What I would say is, unless you have some graphic design skills, don't try it. I am a graphic designer, so for the book that I'm publishing that's coming out on the 21st, I did do the book cover work on that one. But there are other books that I wouldn't touch the book cover on it. So, you know, you have to decide what you want to do, you know, if you want to get somebody else to do that. And there are several different options, and we can refer you to some different ways to get book covers done for a minimal price. So we can do that for you as well. The next thing,
what number are we on?
We're actually on one of these. We're on completion. So we're on completion, and that is number 6 for the C's. And with completion, this is when you complete your project, right? And when you got the completed project, you know, first of all, like we talked about, you don't want, you've just been writing, you think you got it structured and everything, but you definitely want to make sure that your book goes through an editing process.
Right.
And you want to make sure everything.
Horrible spells. I need spell check. I don't know about y'all, but I need spell check.
Well, I need more than spell check, right? So, you know, if I'm in a special category, right? I can't even write a Facebook post with editing it like 13 times.
Oh yeah, I do that too.
Like, I'm like, I go in, I'll post it out there, and I'm like, that does not sound right at all. Let me go back and I thank God for Facebook. You know, before they didn't have edit.
No, you couldn't.
You couldn't edit a post. You put it out there, and you couldn't edit.
You had to do in the comments and how you want, or you had to delete the post altogether.
All right, and I was like, you know, that was crazy. So I was thankful when they came up with the idea of having it so you can edit your status when you put it up. But one of the things with your book, if you publish a book and you have, you know, grammar errors, typographical errors, all of that type of stuff, you can't take it back. You can't make somebody unread the book.
Right.
Right? They saw it. You can't make them unread the book. So you definitely want to make sure that your book goes to a thorough editing process. Use a professional editor. Make sure you have an editor that has edited books before. They're not just a librarian down the street. It sounds tempting, right? It sounds cheap. She said she'll do it for $20.
No.
You want to make sure that because they're going to look at a lot of stuff. A professional editor will go in and look at sentence structure, your grammar, and all of that type of stuff. So you want to make sure you look at that as well. So do some professional editing. At the completion of your book, one thing I want to mention is to make sure that you have an ISBN number, right? So you want to have that ISBN number because that's how you're going to track your book. You track the sales of your book. You won't get into Barnes and Nobles or Books A Million or all of those things without an ISBN number. So those are things that you definitely want to do. Now, I do want to allude to this. If you have a publisher, The publisher is going to take care of most of it. Let me take that
The
back.
back.
A good publisher is going to take care of most of this stuff for you, and then they'll be able to guide you through all of that. So you definitely want to make sure that you think about that option. There is self-publishing, which a lot of people have taken advantage of, and Amazon Create-Space has made that a lot easier than what it used to. But there's still some things that you definitely want to pay attention to, and don't think that it's a free option. If you're going to self-publish, there's still some what you don't pay for in moolah, green cash, you're going to pay for in sweat equity and knowledge that you have to research on your own. So just remember that as well.
That goes to our next one, our last one, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the last C is one that a lot of people like. Sometimes you like it when it's coming in, you don't like it when it's going out. And that would be cash, right? So let's talk about cash flow. With a book, when you're writing a book, if you're going to publish a book, let's talk about the good part first, right? So, with writing a book, as we alluded to earlier, you get to make money off of the book. Now, there are several ways that you can make money off of your book. The first thing is awesome, and it's off of retail sales. You can make, you're going to get your book once you get it published, through a publisher or through self-publishing. There's going to be a cost for your book. So it's going to be the cost that you get your book for, and then there's going to be the price, your retail price of what you're going to sell your book for, and the difference in between you get to keep. Now there's other things that you have to think about that'll come out of that profit, which you're going to think about marketing, right? So if you have to pay for marketing, that's going to come out of that part. That
you should have some kind of business card. I think you should have even going to sell your books. I think you should invest in a nice tablecloth.
Absolutely.
I think you should invest in a nice poster board with you and your book. So a lot of the times when you first begin to publish a book, not all of it is going to your pocket. You have to put it back into your business. Even purchasing your own table. Sometimes you go to Vend and sell your books. You may need to have your table, receipt book, all these things that you need to have. So it's great to make sure that you put your money back into your business. And being an author is just like it's a business, because you have a product to sell. So you want to make sure that you're doing it at excellence. And I mean by doing it at excellence, by doing it very, very well. And you want to take your money and put it back into your business. As far as cash, you making the money for
Absolutely.
your books.
And, one thing I want to talk about cash. Yes, you can make a lot of money with this. You can get some cash flow in there. You can get some, it can be a revenue stream for you. But I want you to be realistic about your book. I don't want anybody to go out there and be like, hey, I'm going to be a millionaire overnight because of this book. If you do, just cut me my part and I'm good, right? So, but if nobody, a lot of people, you're not going to go ahead and be a millionaire overnight, but you can, there are ways that you can become a bestseller in the first 2 weeks and that thing, that type of thing. But if you don't, does that mean your story doesn't have credibility? No, it doesn't. And you go out there, your book has to reach the people that need your book. And then you can, if you're going out there and you're going to proactively promote your book because it can help people, you're going to get some sales. And just give it some time. One thing I would say is if you don't reach bestseller status overnight, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. If you don't make $1 million in your first month, it is okay, because you probably won't. Most authors don't make $1 million in their first month. So that is okay. The thing, but it can be a substantial income stream for you. But let's talk about the other side though. If you're going to write a book, you
need to have cash.
There are going to be some expenses that you're going to have to encounter. One thing is, I talked about the ISBN, right? You're going to have to purchase the ISBN. There's ways you can get it for $125 and stuff, and we can give you more information on that.